welcome to Lisa's Telling Her My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet the daughter.
That must make me Kevin the dad.
And this week, we're talking about the very best of the Manhattan Transfer. And when I selected this album, Dad said, I have thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And I went, wow, this is not an album where I expected him to have strong opinions. But then I listened to it, and I have strong opinions as well. But before we get to those, Dad, what do we need to know?
Oh, we need to know, first of all, that Tim Hauser was born in Troy, New York on December 12, 1941. At 7, he and his family moved to New Jersey, where he graduated high school in 1959 from St. Rose High School. In 1989, that school established an award in Tim's name, which is given to students who excel in theater arts. While still a teen, he founded the doo-wop group, the Criterions. They had a minor hit with I Remain Truly Yours. In 1959, Tim went to Villanova University and formed a folk trio, the Troubadours 3, as opposed to the noun-folk sounding the Three Troubadours. Anyway, he was also on the staff of the college's radio station, WMVU. He graduated in 1964 with a degree in economics, and he worked as a market research analyst and then as a market research manager. In 1969, Tim formed the first version of the Manhattan Transfer with Gene Pistilli, Marty Nelson, Aaron Dickens, and Pat Rosalia. They recorded an album for Capitol Records, Jukin. The band's name came from the 1925 novel of the same name by John Dos Passos.
Any good?
I've never read it, but I can tell you it focused on the development of urban life in New York City from the Gilded Age to the Jazz Age. Anyway, this first version of the band dissolved in 1973. The first record came out in 72. Tim drove a cab to support himself. One of his fears was Laurel Massey, an out-of-work singer. She was familiar with the first Manhattan Transfer album and wanted to form a group. A few weeks later, Tim picked up another fear, a conga player for the group Laurel Canyon. He took Tim to a party where Tim met Janice Siegel, who was singing with the Canyon. They needed one more singer to complete the group. Laura Massey's husband, Roy Markowitz, was in the pit band for some Broadway show called Grease.
Oh, cool.
He introduced them to Alan Paul, who played Johnny Casino and the Teen Angel.
Oh, okay.
That means nothing to me, not having ever watched or will ever watch Grease.
It'll mean stuff to the theater nerds, don't worry.
Okay, good. The group asked Roy to produce a demo, which they presented to Ahmet Erdogan at Atlantic Records. Their self-titled album came out in April 1975. They got a top 25 hit with their cover of Operator. In August of 75, they hosted a 4-week summer series on CBS. Their next album came out in 1976, no pun intended, and they got a big hit in the UK with their version of Chanson d'amour. They followed up with 2 more albums, Pastiche and a live set. And then Trablage. In 1978, Laura Massey was in a car accident.
Oh.
She decided not to rejoin the group, which had moved to California. Cheryl Benteen auditioned to replace Laurel and got the part. They released the album Extensions in 1979 and were back in the top 40 with Twilight Zone. Thank you. The group would win 2 Grammys for their cover of Birdland, originally a Weather Report instrumental. This version had lyrics supplied by John Hendricks, one of the originators of vocalese, which adds lyrics to existing instrumental songs. More on that a little later. With their next album, Mecca for Moderns, which has one of the most disturbing album covers ever.
I'm going to Google it right now while you keep talking.
Yep.
Mecca for Moderns?
Mecca for Moderns. Okay. The MT became the first group to win Grammys in both the popular and jazz categories.
Oh, that's the album cover. Yeah, I've seen it before. I don't like it.
Yep. In 1980, from 1980 to 1992, they'd win 11 Grammys in total. Now, in 1985, their album Vocalese got 12 Grammy nominations.
How much did it win?
We'll go to that later.
Oh.
Michael Jackson did that first, though, with Thriller. In 1987, after 1987's Brazil, the MT left Atlantic and recorded 2 albums for Columbia. In 1995, they went back to Atlantic and stayed there until 2000. In 1998, they were inducted into the now-defunct Vocal Group Hall of Fame.
Interesting.
They've been eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since 1997.
I don't think they should get in.
They probably won't. In 2011, Cheryl Benteen was replaced on stage by Margaret Don while Cheryl was receiving treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma. Tim Hauser was replaced on stage by Trist Curlis whilst Tim was recovering from spinal surgery. Tim died of cardiac arrest in 2014, and Trist was named as his replacement. They've recorded for indie labels since, their most recent album being 2022's 50 on the Craft Recordings label. As for me, I heard the radio hits and came close to picking up a 1992 two-disc Rhino anthology, but I thought, that's just too much stuff to wade through. In 1994, Rhino was courteous enough to put out the very best of, which is a single CD comp which has 16 songs. I just can't remember where I bought it from. The songs aren't in chronological order, but the book's essays and credits are pretty decent. So let's dive into this, shall we?
Oh, yes, let's.
Oh, yes.
First track, Boy from New York City. That opening took me out of it. I almost laughed. Then the rest of the voices kick in and balance each other out perfectly. What was it? Sounds a lot like the opening vocals for Chelsea Dagger by the Fratellis.
Yep. Yep.
Because the lyrics weren't great, A Cool Kitty tells everyone about the boy from New York City, I was focusing on the vocals, and man, are those catchy by themselves. I could listen to the ooh ah, cool, cool kitty, tell us about the boy from New York City, over and over on loop. Very impressed with the voices, not so much with the lyrics. Then I heard the ad-libs, and oh my god, they sounded way better. Less polished, but same richness of sound. Maybe it's just the Manhattan Transfer's polishedness that makes the lyrics sound silly.
Okay, this is from Mecca for Moderns with the disturbing album cover, and listeners out there, you really need to Google it and be very disturbed.
I'm not going to make that the cover for this video because I don't want to give our listeners nightmares.
And I assume you would just go with the best of cover.
Yeah.
Okay, so Janice Siegel is on lead vocals. It went to number 7 on the top 40 back in 1981. Now, this is a cover of the Ad-Lib's one and only top 40 hit from 1964, which went to number 8. So, the New York City boy has it all. Penthouse, cash on hand, a new car, and a dueling scar? Hamilton, is that you? Transported into the 80s. I heard the Manhattan Transfer's version first, and then the ad-libs later, and I love the ad-libs version a lot. Just the drumming alone makes this better than the Manhattan's cover. And there's an overall looseness to the original that the MT just cannot replicate. Their cover is polished, and I have no problem with that. However, and this was something you kind of pointed out with the way that it opens and you were going to like crack up. Maybe this is just me, but I kind of notice a sort of smugness.
I don't get smugness. For some reason, I don't. I think they're showing off, but they're just having big, goofy fun.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're goofing, like they're parodying the role of the doo-wop bass singer, which I don't take too kindly to. But like I said, maybe it could just be me. It's kind of like, yeah, we know this song is goofy and we're too cool for the room, so let's,
I don't hear it, but
that's kind of what I hear. And Uncle Joey, if you're out there listening, and I know you are, I looked up the lyrics, and it's cool, cool kitty.
What did he think it was?
Poo, poo, pity. Juliet just did a head slap.
No. Listen, one of the problems with the Manhattan Transfer is not their lack of enunciation. You hear the letter C and the letter K. Good God.
So, Uncle Joey, you may want to go to an ear doctor to get that checked out.
Maybe.
More on Uncle Joey later.
Yeah, you told me. All right, next track, Trickle Trickle.
Which makes me, every time I hear it, all I can think of is, I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, these lyrics feel really saccharine. It's like a 50s doo-wop group reject. Gotta see my sweet gumdrop? Ooh, boy, that's laying it on thick. But the lead male singer sounds like a 50s crooner and puts some effects on his voice that make him sound like Elvis. As for the story, it's raining outside and he wants to see his baby. She's waiting for him, but he's hesitating. The song won me over with its charm in the end, and those final notes, all of them held out, had a nice blend of harmonies that was pleasing to the ears. As for the videos, they had a nice sound, but this song still isn't my favorite, so my feelings about it are consistent across all groups.
Okay, this is from Extensions, and yes, it was originally recorded by The Videos back in 1958. And with a band name like that, you'd think they had come out in the 80s.
80s, yeah.
Now get this, before they could record a follow-up, 2 of the members died.
Oh.
So their career was over pretty quickly. Anyway, our man pleads with his friend Ronnie to lend him his Cadillac because it's raining outside. and he's got to get to a party to meet his gal. But, and I can totally respect this, he doesn't want to get his clothes wet as he's looking sharp as a tack.
Yeah, I get that. Like Jerry with the suede jacket on Seinfeld.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. That's why I will never wear suede.
In the snow, especially.
Yes. Now, I heard the videos version for the first time whilst compiling my notes, and I gotta say, I like it better. It's not the greatest thing in the world. And I gotta say, the MT's version is all right, but I never realized how busy it was until I heard the original.
Okay.
But I don't have a problem with either one.
Next track, Gloria. Now we hear the influence of the Drifters and Frankie Valli. The lead singer's falsetto is impressive and not as grating as Frankie Valli's could be. They even play on the title a bit by having them start out singing the name Gloria solo with no backup music or vocals, so it sounds like he's in an empty church singing a hymn. Anyways, the song boils down to this. Gloria is not in love with him. The end. And that's kind of it.
Yep.
But with the high falsetto, the 50s doo-wop of the bass, and the choir-like vocals of the ladies, they sound beautiful. However, as soon as he did the spoken verse portion, I was like, make it stop! Although the high note at the end was pretty impressive. As for the Mills Brothers, their rendition has a sincere melancholy that's way more appropriate for the subject matter, and the lead singer almost sounds like Bing.
Yeah. Yep.
As for the Cadillacs, well, now we know where the Manhattan Transfer ripped it off from, but the Mills Brothers is the best version hands down. Even the Cadillacs are too polished for me.
This is from the Manhattan Transfer, not the Manhattan Transfer. Thank you. This song does have some history. It was written by Leon Renee in 1945 and first recorded in 1946 by bandleader Buddy Baker with Bob Hayward on vocals. It went on to be recorded a lot and is considered a doo-wop standard. Only one version, which, as you said, was by the Mills Brothers, hit the charts in 1948. Now, in 1954, one Esther Navarro, manager of the Cadillacs, changed some of the lyrics and got the songwriter credit. Now, Leon Renee never sued, apparently being unaware of the Cadillacs version. In the original, the singer was calling out a friend, telling him that, yeah, you went with these other girls and they were kind of the real thing, and then you fell for Gloria and, she doesn't love you and you blew it, pal. Yeah, first it was Madeline, then Caroline, and
whoever.
Until he met Gloria and his fate was sealed. Now, in the revamp version, Cadillacs, when the singer knows right off the bat that Gloria is not in love with him, but maybe, just maybe, on some subatomic level she is, but no, she's not. And all I can say is, friend, you're fooling himself. And yes, the Transfer sing the Cadillacs rewrite. Alan Paul does a good job with the song, and things are progressing nicely until we get
to the spoken word.
To the 2-minute, 25-second mark, and Alan just makes with some spoken lines directly to Gloria, and while not exactly pooping all over what has come before, he comes pretty close.
Oh, I think he pooped on it.
But like you said, that note at the end, I think, redeems it a little bit. If we could just excise that spoken thing, because it just comes across as like a goof, like, yeah, we know this is stupid, and but sometimes they're their own worst enemy.
Yeah, agreed. Next track, Operator. I heard this song in Mom's car a lot, and maybe it's the Stockholm Syndrome talking, but I like this song. That opening is beautiful as they ask for the operator. It's just their voices and nothing else. We need more of that on that album. Then as the instruments kick in, they take us to church. Why? Because they want to talk to Jesus. And that's it. It's the first time I don't really raise an eyebrow or find myself being snarky, because they treat the song seriously with their voices and performance, and it's most sincere and powerful that way. Plus, the woman who sings lead sounds like the church choir soloist who isn't afraid to praise the Lord. Good song and great performance. The Friendly Brothers sound fine, but the Manhattan Transfer were able to give it that extra oomph. One case where the cover was better than the original.
I agree. This is from the Manhattan Transfer. Gospel song, yes, first recorded by the Friendly Brothers in 1959. The singer is asking for the operator to get Jesus on the line. And at first I thought, well, wait a minute, can't you just dial direct? So I ran this situation by your mom, and she thinks that the operator in question could be a priest or some sort of spiritual leader because some people need help making the connection to the man upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ready to dial direct.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, both versions I think are solid, but yeah, I like the Transfers version a little more.
Mm-hmm. Next track, Tuxedo Junction. My first note. All right, we have a proper contralto. Let's go. This song sounds like...
I don't know what that means.
Think Annie Lennox.
Okay.
Or Nico from Velvet Underground. Low lady voice.
Okay.
This sounds like a song in a nightclub down south, maybe a cabaret or even a burlesque show. Then we got some pretty great vocal scatting where she's definitely channeling Ella Fitzgerald with her voice and sounds pretty darn good. The voice is sinful, but this is a classy joint, so keep your tuxedo pleats to yourself. More a cappella groups should cover this song. It felt like a great American standard with their voices, absolutely beautiful. I definitely want to dance the night away to this. As for the orchestral version, apparently the original was referenced in Malcolm X's autobiography, and it was also used in Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, I Hear You Paint Houses. The Glenn Miller arrangement doesn't have as much pep as Erskine Hawkins and drags a bit. As for Joe Jackson, it's alright, but it doesn't sound fully fleshed out vocally. It's very raw, but again, against those four versions, there's no contest against those four voices.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is also from the Manhattan Transfer. Originally an instrumental written in 1939 by Erskine Hawkins, Bill Johnson, and Julian Dash. Hawkins and his orchestra got a number 7 hit. Glenn Miller got a number 1 hit with it in 1940. Now, Lewis Music Publishing sent out the music to several lyricists. One of them, Buddy Fane, was smart enough to ask Erskine Hawkins what the title meant. It was about a jazz club in Alabama named Birmingham. The building was near a streetcar crossing at Tuxedo Park, hence Tuxedo Junction. It's been recorded a lot. Hawkins' version really swings. It really does. Miller slowed it down for his take, and that's the tempo I've always been used to hearing it at. And this is also the same tempo Joe Jackson did in his 1981 vocal version. And same with the Manhattan Transfers version. And they do a fine job with the song. I don't have any complaints.
Next track, Four Brothers. If someone took a recording of jazz improvisations and set it to words, this would be it, because it sounds like when jazz musicians improvise and try to show each other up. It's not the same thing as a rap battle, even though these singers are spitting verses fast. There really isn't a story here. I mean, there's 4 brothers in a band, but you're not supposed to pay attention to the lyrics. You're just supposed to marvel at how they give Robert Preston a run for his money. If you've ever attended a jazz concert or are a big fan of jazz, listen to this track and you'll hear how it sounds like an improvisational jam session. Oh, and the soprano shows off at the end with a whistle tone. Very fascinating song, very fascinating indeed. As for Woody Herman, it makes sense that this was an instrumental first because I can't imagine that anyone ever thought adding lyrics for a singer to perform. Pleasant, but the lyrics make it a bit more mind-blowing.
This is from Pastiche. This is a jazz standard from 1947 written by Jimmy Jeffrey. He wrote it for the Four Brothers saxophone section in Woody Herman's band, The Herd. The sax players were Zoot Sims, Serge Chaloff, Herbie Stewart, and Stan Getz.
Oh, cool.
As in Astrud
Gilberto,
yep.
Yeah.
And they play in that order on the song. Each of them got to solo. John Hendricks later wrote lyrics to go with the song. He was one, if not the originator of vocalese. Per Wikipedia, vocalese is a style of jazz singing in which words are added to an instrumental soloist's improvisation. It uses recognizable lyrics that are sung to pre-existing instrumental solos, as opposed to scat singing, which uses nonsense words and solos. Shooby-doo, da-ba-da-ba, that kind of thing. Hendricks was 1/3 of the vocalese trio Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. He would go on to a solo career and would write all the lyrics to the Manhattan Transfers album Vocalese. Now I listened to the Woody Herman version and it's great. And then this. And okay, I get that John Hendricks was writing words for every damn note the saxophone players originally played, and I do admire his feat, but it's just too much.
Okay.
Too wordy for me.
Too many notes.
It seems like the transfers seem to be in a race as if they have to fit a shit ton of words in a limited amount of time. And yet each member gets to solo as it was singing about their sax playing prowess, but my God, the words are just so hep-cat dated. As I quote, "Listen to me, baby. I'm blowing, zooting it up, and I hope you dig the sounds I'm making more than any other. Jesus Christ on the ice and Mary in the penalty box. They're instrumentals for a reason.
Oh, we'll get to one later.
And yet, and here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
This is where I kind of have this schizo personality. I downloaded the 1959 Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross album, The Hottest New Group in Jazz. You know why?
Why?
Because it's really good.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, at first I thought, well, maybe John Hendricks just kept the good stuff for himself. But then I realized, no, I've never heard of these instrumentals originally to which he added the words. I'm just used to his versions. So my thing is, if I went back and listened to the instrumentals, I'd probably hate all these songs. So I'm not going to do it. Plus, it seems like all the instrumentals that he picked for that album just seem to be really obscure. I've never heard of any of them, but I'm sure, like, if you're a jazz head, you probably know all of them.
Yeah.
Let's move on, shall we?
Next track, Ray's Rock House. Are they using a vocoder?
Some sort of electronic thing. Yeah, I know what you mean.
This is
it was kind of close to the 80s.
This isn't a rock house so much as a jazz house or a funk house. Those harmonies sound great, but for a song about rock, it doesn't really rock, except for the rocky vocals of the lead singer on the track. It sounds too polished and too 80s. Once again, the voices are great, but the musical arrangement they chose for this specific song boggles the mind. As for Ray Charles, yeah, he does donuts around these guys any day. There's no contest. You don't need the lyrics. You can jam to the piano version with a drink and be way more happy.
Okay, this is from Vocalese, which was the album that got nominated for 12 Grammys, and I believe it won 2 in total. And it came out in 1985, so yeah, it definitely has the 80s thing going.
Yes.
This was originally, as you said, a Ray Charles instrumental from 1956, back when he was on Atlantic Records, and it is terrific.
Yep.
It's not as a well-known a track as, like, some of his other stuff, but it's terrific. It's kind of laid back, but it stays with you. And so now we fast forward to 1985, and son of a gun, John Hendricks strikes again. He wrote the words for this song, and again, almost all the others on the Vocalese album. Now let's ponder this for a minute.
Yes.
You have Ray Charles, one of the giants of American music.
Or maybe of music in general.
Yeah, and someone thought it'd be a good idea to tamper with one of his songs. I can make it better.
Yeah, here's what I'd say.
No, you can't.
Ray Charles does songs where he sings while playing the piano, right?
Right.
So you'd figure if he wanted words to this, he would have sung them, right?
Right.
But he didn't.
He didn't.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like taking One Mint Julep, his most famous instrumental, and let's just add some words to it.
Oh my God, did somebody add words to it?
I hope not.
Well, let's not find out. Let's not find out.
No. Anyone out there, do not do that.
Yeah, oh God, I hope we didn't put something into the universe.
I take it back.
We take it back.
Anyway, the lyric version harkens back to the early days of rock and roll, back when it was the devil's music. Mrs. Tucker has come to Ray's Rock House to look for her son to bring him home and save his soul at church the next day. Oy. Now, I gotta say, having said all that,
Yes.
it's not that bad of a
It's
song.
not bad.
But
It's fine.
Ray's original is better, and you bring up the excellent point that Ray played piano. Ray wrote songs. If he wanted to, he would have, but he didn't, so please don't. Just don't.
Do we know what he thought of this? He was still alive, I'm assuming.
That I don't know. But I've got to say, I don't know if I have this somewhere else, but rock and rollers have also gotten the idea of, hey, let's take rock and roll songs and instrumentals and put words to them. And my boys, Low Straitjackets, participated in this.
Really? They
They were
something?
No, they were the backing band. They played all the instrumental stuff, and I think it was like different people would come on and sing,
Something.
hey, let's put lyrics to Wipeout. No, let's not. Let's just sit down and shut up.
What the hell are the words to wipe out? Wipe out. I'm surfing.
Wipe out. Sorry. Okay, let's just move on, because this is not good. This is not good for me or you.
Next track, Soul Food to Go. Is it Sina or Sina?
I'd go with Sina. It sounds more Portuguese.
Okay,
I could
Sina.
be wrong.
Once again, the vocals sound nice, but the lyrics turn into complete and utter, not gibberish, but word salad. The For You Tasty Funk section was much harder to listen to.
And there's a reason for all that badness, which I will get into.
Okay, but I gotta finish up my thoughts first. I already know this isn't my favorite track on the Brazil album. That honor goes to Metropolis. And fun fact, Mom got this album once from the Seekonk Public Library and didn't care for it all that much. I'm just basically waiting for the song to wrap up at this point as we go into the next one. Okay, what are your notes, Dad?
Okay, this is from Brazil. They spell it Brasil, which is the Portuguese version, which I respect. So yes, obviously this is the Manhattan Transfer's Brazilian music move.
Yep.
Now, per Wikipedia, during the recording sessions, they worked with songwriters such as Milton Nascimento, Gilberto Gil, and I'm gonna blow this, Javan, Djavan.
Okay.
Who wrote this song. Now, get this, after the initial recording sessions, the songs were rearranged and then fitted with English lyrics. So you hired these great Portuguese writers to write in their language.
And you don't sing it.
And
Son of a...
And you just decide to scrap all their lyrics.
And translate to English. Oh, good God.
You know who wrote the English lyrics for this song?
Ooh, can I guess?
This just smacked me up the head like you wouldn't believe.
Ooh, have we covered them before on the show?
We never have.
Do you have them in your...
I do not.
Oh, are they in Dave Barry's Book of Bad Songs?
I believe they are.
Is it Jimmy Webb?
No, it is not.
Who is it?
It is Doug Feiger.
Who the hell is that?
From the Knack, which I sent you the video of My Sharona.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Mr. My Sharona himself.
Okay.
Go figure. I don't know how you combine the Knack and the Manhattan Transfer, but when you do, you get this.
Oh, they just should have kept the original Portuguese and just left it up to us to figure out what the hell the lyrics meant.
So yeah, the lyrics are ham-handed and clunky and clumsy, and he's trying to make some sort of attempt to compare or equate music to food or something, and
a better writer could have pulled it off.
I think the Transfer do the best that they can with what they have, but then again, they may be responsible because did they come up with the idea of, hey, let's get English songwriters to... I don't know. But anyway, believe it or not, you should check out the video on YouTube just for the stop-motion animation courtesy of Will Vinton, the man behind the California Raisins, who were huge in the 1980s.
You know what Manny would say if he heard this song? Stick those bloody lyrics up your coo. Probably. Okay. Next track, Spice of Life.
Ugh.
For a song called Spice of Life, I was expecting a song that had more edge. Pop can have edge if you add an electric guitar, or some minor chords, or some drums, or clashing notes. And this arrangement was pleasant, but don't give me an enticing title and then give me this. The voices are great, but again, the orchestration is wrong. Wrong.
This is from Bodies and Souls. It was written by Rod Temperton and Derek Bramble of Heatwave. And you may know their songs Boogie Nights and Always and Forever. Those are the huge ones. If you've ever been to a wedding reception, you've heard Always and Forever.
Isn't Boogie Nights a movie?
That was a movie, but it was a song first, which came out in 79, and I believe Uncle Joey still has the vinyl.
Did they put the song in the movie?
That's a good question. I saw the movie and I cannot remember.
We'll find out.
Anyway, Stevie Wonder chips in with the harmonica solo.
No shit!
No shit.
Oh, what's he doing here? Why?
Hey, a job's a job.
Oh, but if he's Stevie, you'd figure he wouldn't have to stoop to this level of work. Like, once you get to a certain level of icon status, aren't there some projects that are kind of beneath you now?
He's just a nice guy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Know,
he's too nice.
He is. Anyway, yes, the lyrics can be boiled down to one sentence. Let's go out tonight and taste the spice of life. Wow. Pretty generic. Musically, it sounds like Michael Jackson's Baby Be Mine, which makes sense as Rod Temperton would go on to write that song for the Thriller album. Spice of Life is very 80s, and not the good kind of 80s, it's the meh kind of 80s.
Next track, Baby Come Back to Me, the Morse Code of Love. In terms of which version I think is better, I think the Capris have the slight edge because I feel like the lead singer of the Manhattan Transfer is trying to imitate Frankie Valli and as a result sounds nasal. The lead singer of the Capris is still able to have a rich timbre to his voice while hitting those high notes, which isn't easy to do. But towards the end of the song, that guy sounds like a parrot. Yeah, although I think the Manhattan Transfer has better pacing as they fire off vocal scatting like Morse code. Catchy backing vocals, but neither version did it for me.
This is from Bop Doo Wop. Now, get this. This was originally done by the Capris, and it was written by Nick Santamaria. He started writing the song in 1961, and he finished it in 1981.
Wow, he took his time.
He put a lot of thought into it. Anyway, the Capris recorded it in 1982. Now, here's the thing. Oldie stations picked up the song because they thought it was a track from the 50s that they had somehow missed.
It sounds like it.
Yep. So the Manhattan Transfer recorded their version 2 years later in 1984. So the singer sent his baby a telegram. Hey, this was back in 1982. Didn't have smartphones or anything like that back then.
I'm surprised telegrams are still around even in the 80s. What year did the fax machine come out?
After that, sometime later in the 80s, I guess.
Gotcha.
I mean, this is like when you had like the big, 10-pound portable phone that you had to like keep plugged in the car and it looked like a brick.
Oh yeah, like the car phone that you see in I think it's in the Birdcage. And do they have one in Back to the Future?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like a brick with an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he's a one-woman man now, so please come back. The Morse code part obviously comes in with the did dot did background vocals.
I wonder if that's actual Morse code or if that's just noise that they're making to sound like Morse code.
I don't know. Morse code experts out there,
Let us
have
know.
at it. Both versions are terrific, but I find the Capri's version being terrificer.
Okay.
That is now a word.
No, it's not. Mom will tell you. Next track, Candy. Did we talk about this song on the podcast before? Or was there another song named Candy that I'm thinking of? Because I feel like I've heard it before.
The podcast before? What was the podcast before?
No. Have we talked about this song before on the podcast?
Oh, I don't believe so. There might be another Candy song.
Okay, because I feel it's probably that I just heard this in your car then. Because I remember hearing this song and not liking it at all. But the Manhattan Transfer, they turned it into a sumptuous ballad with their voices as smooth as butter and making you swoon, not over the romance, but because of how good they sound. They needed to do more ballads from the 40s and 50s because when they sound like this, it's perfect. And we'll get more into that later with the next track, Heaven on the Ears. As for Johnny Mercer, it's pleasant, but after hearing the Manhattan Transfer, I prefer the Manhattan Transfer over Johnny.
This is from the Manhattan Transfer. It was written in 1944 by Alex Kramer, Mac David, and Joan Whitney, and was first recorded by Johnny Mercer and Joe Stafford with the Pied Pipers in 1945. Now, Johnny and Joe both call their sugar candy because they're sweet on them, and vice versa. Now, they also both wish that there were 4 of them, so they could love much more of them. The mind reels, and you got to start cueing the guitar, because...
So that kind of actually happened on the episode of Gravity Falls I watched last night, where Dipper wants to dance with his crush Wendy at this event that his Grunkle Stan is throwing. It's Grunkle, great uncle.
Yes, I figured that out.
And they find this old copy machine to make flyers. And Dipper accidentally gets his arm on the copy machine while they're testing it, and it prints out, but his arm comes to life. So he wants to dance with Wendy, but Grunkle Stan is making him work the ticket booth and he can't leave. So at one point he gets up when Stan's not looking and he makes a copy of himself. That way the copy can go sit at the desk and he can dance with Wendy. But of course things get more complicated and before you know it, there's 12 Dippers running around.
Oh, man.
Yep.
There's been a number of cover versions, and the MTs came out in 1975, and they do a great job, and I am definitely giving them the edge on this one. Yeah, I think you're right. When they stick to 40s and 50s and they don't get too cute about it.
And they don't get 80s with it.
Yeah, they are just like on the money.
And they're on the money with the next track. A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. Question.
Yes.
Why is it Barkley and not Berkeley?
Because it's British, and they do that just to piss us off.
Oh, okay, it's English. All right. So this one track is what the entire album should have been. No musical gimmicks, no trying to do covers in the same style of other groups, just their pure voices delivering a classic in their own style. The first time I heard this cover was on the Valentine's Day episode of Touched by an Angel. But the first time I really listened, I almost wept because you hear the longing and romance and tenderness just from their voices and you get swept up in the feelings and you feel the bittersweetness as they have to kiss and pull away and say goodbye. This was the track that made me understand their influence and why it was such a huge honor for Pentatonix when the two of them collaborated on their rendition of White Christmas. If you listen to only one track on this album, let it be this one. If you're not moved, Romance is dead. As for Vera Lynn, she sounds beautiful, and apparently this version received a new appreciation after it was used on the Amazon Prime adaptation of Good Omens. Read through the comments and you'll see a lot of fans who are hurting. Hers does sound more wistful, though, like she might be remembering a love that no longer was. So if you want a happy cover or a sad cover, take your pick between the two.
This is from Mecca for Moderns. This is the very rare British romantic pop song, written in 1939 by Eric Maschwitz and Manning Sherwin. Being British, yes, it's pronounced Barclay instead of Berkeley. Berkeley Square is in Mayfair, London. It's been recorded a ton of times, one of the first being by Vera Lynn in 1940. The most recent version being sung by who else?
Pentatonix?
No, Michael Bublé
Michael Bublé,
in
that makes
2022. According to Wikipedia, nightingales favor rural habitats and are unlikely to be heard in central London. And this is acknowledged in the lyrics, kind of, sort of, and I quote, "I may be right, I may be wrong, but I'm perfectly willing to swear that when you turned and smiled at me, a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square."
So it is sort of hinted at. Okay.
The transfer to a cappella in their version really commands your attention.
Yup.
It just stops you in your tracks. It's like you cannot do anything else while this song is on. And I got to give them kudos for not being smug or cute in their delivery. My only complaint is I wish they had sung the whole song. There are a few verses missing, but I think it's like at the pace they're singing the song,
it would have just dragged.
It would have been like 7 minutes long, and it just would have been just too much. But yeah,
this one's great.
This is perfect. This is the track of tracks on this album.
Correct. Next track. We're both dreading this one. Birdland.
Land of Birds.
My first note, oh, I hate the synths already. After Berkeley Square, this was a jarring tonal shift I did not want. And I wrote this down. And I gotta sit through this for 6 minutes. I could be listening to music of the night in that time, but nope! And then it goes off the rails, sounding like the worst back and forth musical theater patter song. I'd rather listen to all the jazz musicians they list than this. Listen, again, their voices sound great, but why give this lyrics? And at this point when I was writing those notes, I wrote down, I still have 4 minutes left! The rhythm got to me, but I just wanted to get to a point where I could listen to the original instrumental and compare and contrast the two. And then we got to the instrumental, and you know what, Dad? I'm gonna blame you. I wish you had wrote in your email, listen to this before you listen to the Manhattan Transfer, because when I listen to the original instrumental, all I can hear is the Manhattan Transfer, and the original is tainted for me. So whatever experience other people had with a jazz masterpiece, I will never get to have. I was robbed, so thanks a lot. But as I listened to it longer, it became more and more fun with the instruments, because somehow I'm able to pick up on the joy of going to this jazz club more than I did with the Manhattan Transfer, I think mostly because I was annoyed. So yeah, thanks a friggin' lot.
You're welcome. Okay, this is from Extensions. This is written by Joe Zawinul in 1977 for his band Weather Report from the album Heavy Weather, which has one of the most bizarre album covers ever. The fedora that ate New York City. You have to go Google the cover.
Oh no, the hipsters are coming.
Yes, yes. Run away, run away.
Run before they tell you that they liked it before it was cool.
Anyway, he wrote this as a tribute to the New York Jazz Club of the same name, and I think in the notes it said that he met his wife there, and anyway, it was named after Charlie Parker because his nickname was Bird. And allegedly, Birdland was recorded in one take, the instrumental version.
Mm-hmm.
Now let us jump ahead 2 years, and son of a gun, our old friend John Hendricks once again adds lyrics to an instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
Vocalese. From listening to this compilation, I finally realized what's been sticking in my craw all these years with this CD. It finally dawned on me.
What?
I hate Vocalese. I hate it.
I could have told you that.
I needed to find out on my own.
Oh, okay.
And another guess what?
What?
I hate both versions. Weather Reports smacks of jazz pop, because I refuse to call it jazz rock because it doesn't even rock. It just sits there like eggs on a plate.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
Anyway, as for the Manhattan Transfers version, God, they indulge in their worst habits: lame scatting, hepcat attitude, and smug AF.
Mm-hmm.
This is easily the worst song on here, and so, of course it won a Grammy. And some of the scatting, or whatever you want to call it, reminds me of the Andrews sisters trying to be cool hipster back in the 40s, and it just ain't happening.
Next track, Java Jive. I definitely heard a cover of this live with ceramic coffee mugs used as props where they'd clink them in time to the music, and I can't remember where.
Not like Young Frankenstein when they clink it and smash it.
No, like a friendly little cheers, dink. Yeah. The arrangement has a slow pacing, and combined with the sliding voices, it has the mood when you wake up in the morning and you're sluggishly tired, but you're instantly comforted by a warm drink. Like whenever there's a gray day and I buy a cup of coffee or tea, I put on this song, or if it's raining. I think that's why the Manhattan Transfer version works along with the Ink Spots. I downloaded this song and I don't even drink hot coffee all that much. I drink it iced. And while I drink tea a lot for my voice, it's not my favorite hot drink either. I love hot chocolate, and I'm partial to a chai latte, a cover that really comforts you. I love it.
I don't drink coffee.
I know. Well, you did once.
Yes, because I really, 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 really needed it, and I drank it black.
Yep, black with raspberry. I remember Mom ordering it.
No cream, no sugar.
Yep.
To quote Kenneth from 30 Rock, I don't drink hot drinks. That's the
devil's temperature.
Yes. This is also from the Manhattan Transfer. It was originally written by Ben Oakland and Milton Drake in 1940 and first recorded by the Ink Spots. And I think everyone at least knows the line, I love coffee, I love tea.
I love the Java Jive and it loves me.
And then they get to that, and I'm thinking, well, tea was also slang for marijuana, so maybe there's something wrong going on here.
You could interpret it that way. I'm going to go the drink route, though.
Okay, it's been recorded a lot. I mean, a lot. And the Manhattan Transfer do a great version, so there's no complaints from me with this song. Go figure.
Yay!
Now, in 1984, the New Hampshire Notables recorded a version that wound up on the B-side of Uncle Joey's UNH Wrap-Up 45.
Oh my God, and Dad has the LP right here. I'm actually holding it. Wait, how did Uncle Joey a Jumpin' Joe production?
A Jumpin' Joe production.
That's Uncle Joey's production company?
Yep, he came up with this rap about University of New Hampshire life.
Oh yeah, and there was an article written about it.
And a copy of this was inserted in every yearbook, whether the seniors wanted it or not. They got it.
Kevin, always keep the something fresh.
The funk fresh.
The funk fresh, and I hope your interest in rap something. Enjoy your brother. He did not write this. Yes. The legendary Jumpin' Joe.
Hey, that's what he was known as in New Hampshire, Jumpin' Joe.
Can we put this on after we're done recording? Because I gotta hear this.
Yes, we will.
Oh, you know what would be fun?
And if you want to know more, you can ask Uncle Joey about it.
No. If we did, for your birthdays one year, we did a bonus episode where we reviewed the song.
Okay.
That might be interesting. Uncle Joey, if you're interested, let us know.
Now, you may be wondering,
yes, Dad.
why is coffee called Java?
Why is coffee called Java, Dad?
Per driftawaycoffee.com, the Dutch introduced coffee to Southeast Asia back in the 1600s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They brought coffee trees to Bali, Sumatra, and Java.
Mm-hmm.
The Dutch may have used the term to refer to single origin coffee from Java.
Mm-hmm.
The coffee trade grew, and Java was adopted by more and more people around the world because apparently it was easy to say than, Sumatra or maybe even Bali. I don't know. Java just flows.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, coffee is still grown on the island of Java.
Mm-hmm. Next track, Route 66. The first time I ever heard this song was in a behind-the-scenes special on the Disney Channel for the Cars movie, where a rock cover of this was released on the soundtrack. I love the Manhattan Transfer's rendition here. It's like a pleasant Sunday drive as you stare at the scenery and notice the signs while you drive by telling you where you are. As for Nat, his voice is wonderful as always, and he sounds cool as can be, but I think the four-part harmony fleshes the song out more. The Stones cover exhausts me at that tempo, and the Replacements version is the one that reminds me the most of the cover I heard on Disney Channel originally. I think that's what the guy was going for when he covered it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Manhattan Transfer is where it's at for me. A lovely cover you could sway to while going for a spin.
Did you just say where it's at?
Yes, why?
It's where it's at, man. Oh my God. You're turning into a hipster right before my eyes.
No, I'm not.
Make it stop.
I'm a theater kid already.
Okay.
It's too much.
Okay. This is from Bob Doo-Wop. This was written in 1946 by Bobby Troop, who would go on to play Dr. Joe Early on the TV show Emergency in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
His other feat of greatness was being married to Julie London.
Mm-hmm.
He got the idea for the song on a cross-country drive with his then-wife, Cynthia. They drove from Pennsylvania to California. He was going to write a tune about US 40, but thankfully, Cynthia came up with the title, Get Your Kicks on Route 66. Now, Nat King Cole's trio first recorded it in 1946, and there's been a ton of covers since, including, as you said, the Rolling Stones and the Replacements. And I have the Matt's version as an extra track on the remastered version of Pleased to Meet Me. But I don't have the Stones version, but I did find it on YouTube, and it's not bad. It's not a song that I would have imagined them ever recording, but darn it, they did. And then we have the Manhattan Transfer version.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, it's a great version. It makes me want to hit the road.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone can do a bad version of this song. I hope not anyway.
Let's not test that theory.
No, let's not.
No. Final track, Twilight Zone, Twilight Tone.
No, Twilight Zone, Twilight Zone.
It says Twilight Tone on the back.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it was Twilight Zone, Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, Twilight Tone.
You mean I've been like imagining that other Z all these years?
Yes, you have. Hold on, let me Google this quickly.
Oh my goodness.
Twilight. Behold, Google says Twilight Zone with a Z, Twilight Tone with a T.
I stand corrected.
All right, now.
If I wish I had the disc with me though, because I'm pretty sure it says Twilight Zone, Twilight Zone.
When you took the photo, that's a letter T written in that font.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I learned something after 30-something years.
How about that? I feel like Mike Nichols from our last album. How about that? Okay, anyway. This was almost perfect. Almost. The opening with the notes from the Twilight Zone made me go, no way, they're actually doing this. And the Rod Serling imitation was pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
Then came the pause.
No.
No, we're not getting there yet. Then came the pause, that fateful pause, where you could tell something new was about to happen, and it could go 50-50. It's either gonna blast off and be really awesome, or it's gonna blast off and be suck. And I heard it. I knew a transition was about to happen, and I said to myself, please don't blow this. And they did. It went to pop straight away, and I was so disappointed because they could have kept on being creepy and bizarre with their vocal arrangement and the orchestration. And they still have some of those moments as they slur their vowels, and then that other moment where they have ghostly vocals mixed in with those iconic opening TV theme notes. I wanted this to be an oddball of a track, something so unlike them that would be perfect for Halloween. We should have gotten that all the way through. The potential at what this could have been, my God! My disappointment is immeasurable and my life is ruined.
Oh, hold if on. Only we could have the video.
I gotta Google that phrase. Hold on. Let me see. Keep talking.
Okay.
Oh, yes. That quote from, to quote that one guy from the internet meme who everybody knows, my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined.
Okay.
Yep.
This is from Extensions. Twilight Zone composer Bernard Herrmann got a songwriting credit.
Well, that's good at least.
He was also Hitchcock's favorite composer.
Oh, cool.
He also came up with the theme from Psycho.
Makes sense.
Anyway, yes, Alan Paul does an excellent Rod Serling imitation in the intro. You'd swear it was the man himself.
Unless you hadn't watched all the episodes.
The radio edit hit number 30 on Billboard's Top 40. And I'm going to skip this sentence because I'm just going to embarrass myself saying it's Twilight Zone, Twilight Zone. Anyway, there are two stories going on in this song. The first one has to do with a girl who can see in the future with her third eye. The second one freaked me out because I did the research, because it has to do with a Mr. Miller, and it mentions something about playing his trombone, and I thought, that's Glenn Miller. What the hell happened? So I did a search on Glenn Miller, and it turns out they're writing about him. Get this. On December 15th, 1944, he went missing in action on a flight over the English Channel.
Holy shit.
The plane was never recovered. His body was never recovered. They had to wait the requisite, I think, a year and a day to declare him dead. And then they have that line, the lines about, now he resides and plays trombone in the mystic unknown zone. And I'm like, holy crap, someone definitely did their homework.
Wow, that's sad.
Yep, so that's the freaky deaky part where like he was like playing different concerts. Obviously it was just during World War II. Him and the band going different places. He took a separate flight from the rest of the band and went to the Twilight Zone.
Oh no.
Now, as I mentioned, there was a radio edit, but this is the full 6-minute plus version. And unfortunately, at the 5-minute mark until the very end of the song, all we hear is "Here in the Twilight" sung over and over and over.
This could have been so much better than what they churned out.
But, you know, I give them props for the whole Mr. Miller thing.
Okay. Overall, this album frustrated me. The tracks I really liked, I adored, but the rest sounded too polished and I couldn't take it seriously. And then, Dad, I realized something. The way I view these tracks and I hear them and I feel about them, I realized, oh my God, this is what Dad is going through when he listens to the Happenings cover of See You in September. That's what it's like for you. Too polished and just not the right thing for their voices or the song. Now I understand why you don't like it. I still like it, but I realize that this is what you hear when you listen to that. That's what you're going through.
It's what I'm always going through with that song.
So listen, if you know a few hit singles from the Manhattan Transfer, you're not missing out on much by not listening to the best of. Just listen to the ones you like, and for the rest, listen to the originals. They could have done so much better, but they did not, and I'm very disappointed. Now, Dad, this begs the question, why the frig do you have this album?
Well, here we go. Despite my griping and complaining, I gotta say that the Best of the Manhattan Transfer is a pretty solid set for the most part. Now, here's the thing.
Yes.
I bought this back in 1994, and 30 years later, it's still in my CD collection, and God knows how many times I have culled my collection going through them. Keep this, that gets donated, keep this, you're out of here, you're out of here. So there's something here that's made me hang on to it.
Is it because Mom likes them too?
No.
Oh, well, I don't know, I'm just trying to come up with reasons.
I just don't know. But all I could say, and I recommend, is just skip the vocalese numbers, and you will be much better off. They won't damage you like they've damaged me.
I say skip the album. All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest album of My Dad Listens to This. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz, because remember, the more you interact with the video, the greater chance we have of appearing on the YouTube homepage. If you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you're friends with my dad, let him know what you want to listen to, and he can send it right to your email inbox. As always, thank you for listening to the latest album of My Dad Listens to This. We will be back next time with another album to nitpick and gripe about, and boy, do we nitpick and gripe about this one. Dad, anything do you want to say before we sign off?
Well, that's what we do. Yeah, to paraphrase Weird Al, but I guess the whole point I'm trying to make here is, I hate vocalese.
That's all you're trying to say, really.
Yeah.